Chapter 730, Struggle. Lumien's mind raced, unable to fully process the myriad details, but in the heat of battle, he couldn't afford to waste a single moment overthinking. Only a conspirer could deduce a possible scenario within 2 seconds of mirror substitution taking effect. Based on Pearl's words, Franca and the others would have concluded that she was the overseer directly above Jebus. She had sidestepped danger through the under-the-table transaction, but now had no choice but to confront them head-on. They couldn't let their focus waver, not even for a second. Lumien cursed inwardly, frustrated that the Blood Emperor's residual aura had been sealed by Underworld Taoist's death mark. If not for that, his best bet would have been to activate the mark on his right palm with everything he had, allowing Alista Tudor to descend upon Trier once again. It would have drawn the attention of angels from the Eternal Blazing Sun Church, the God of Steam and Machinery Church, and other powerhouses hiding in the city, pressuring Pearl to retreat. Without a second thought, Lumien triggered the black mark on his right shoulder. His plan was to teleport out of there and into St. Vi A tilde-double-V Cathedral. Since Pearl's goal was to capture him alive, he obtained a conclusion through simple deduction. She would undoubtedly chase after him with all her might. There's no way she would stay put and risk failing the under-the-table transaction. If that happened, Franca, Jenna, and Anthony would still have to deal with the conjured Punisher, but at least they wouldn't be facing a demigod. Their odds of survival would be significantly better. For any mid-sequence Beyonder, even a single sequence 4 demigod bestowed or not was enough to make their hearts sink with despair. Moreover, the 2 demonesses and Anthony all possessed mirror substitution, as well as items like the 7-stone bracelet. As long as they didn't become a demigod's target, they had a real shot at using the substitutes to escape to the Church of the Fools Cathedral at Lavigny Docks. As Lumien's form swiftly dissipated, he reached into his pocket with his left hand, his mind crystal clear, and grasped Mr. K's finger. He couldn't be sure if Pearl was telling the truth about capturing him alive or if it was a lie. Was it just a demigod's nonchalance when dealing with a mid-sequence Beyonder, or a habit formed from a broker's constant deception? He had to be prepared for the possibility that Pearl might not follow him and instead stay behind to take on Franca and the others. His contingency plan was summon Mr. K. While Mr. K, as a shepherd, couldn't directly fight a demigod, he was the Aurora Order's oracle. He could hear the true creator's guidance at any time. His presence meant that the deity he believed in would surely cast his gaze upon them. There was a good chance it would trigger some miraculous turn of events in their favor. And even without divine intervention, the Beyonder of the apprentice pathway under Mr. K's grazing appeared to have records of demigod abilities. It should be able to hold off Pearl for a few seconds, giving Franca and the others a window to escape. As Lumien activated his teleportation, Franca, who had been compelled to use mirror substitution, materialized in a corner of the quarry cave. Clutching a makeup mirror, she decisively activated the mirror cufflink. She already knew Pearl was the overseer and intended to escape via the mirror world. Once concealed within the mirror world, she could jump to the mirrors on Jenna, Lumien, and Anthony. She could extend her hand and pull her companions into the mirror world, and they could all flee together. The glass-like mirror cufflink emitted a dark light, but Franca didn't budge, unable to enter the makeup mirror in her grasp. Franca was stunned for a moment before a realization hit her. Failing to enter the mirror world without any interference could only mean one thing. This was a mirror world. Except for certain unique mirror worlds, one couldn't enter the mirror world from within the mirror world itself. The only option was to use the mirror to jump. Mirror worlds came in 2 varieties. The first was conventional and universal, not a true world. It was a concept of doors amalgamated into a dark void passageway linking all mirrors. Wherever mirrors and their surfaces existed, such mirror worlds with no discernible boundaries could be found. The second type was special mirror worlds. They relied on the conventional mirror world and leveraged specific corruption or corresponding abilities to take shape. Some were permanent, others temporary. Their characteristics closely mirrored the real world, projections of one facet of reality, but each had its own unique limitations and rules. The mirror world in 4th Epoch Trier belonged to the latter category. It contained only a projection of Trier, a sprawling metropolis, and excluded other regions. Moreover, it was split into 3 distinct levels. This mirror world was also special, but on a smaller scale. It was merely a projection of the quarry cave, likely generated by some ability. As a veteran shadow merchant, Pearl had a long-established partnership with the Mirror People. It was perfectly normal for her to trade items capable of creating temporary special mirror worlds. Recalling the dark light emanating from Morin Avigny's mirror just before Pearl's arrival, Franca's suspicion was confirmed. Just as she was about to warn Lumion and the others, she saw the demoness of Black's punishment projection seize the moment to reflect herself in a mirror. Franca's pupils dilated as she activated mirror substitution. In an instant, she transformed into a mirror, engulfed by pitch-black flames from within. Smack! The mirror slammed into the ground, shattering into countless fragments. At the same time, Lumion's figure rematerialized in place. His teleportation had failed. This was indeed a special mirror world. Finding an exit was the only way out. Mr. K's finger had already expanded, morphing into a mass of flesh and blood that enveloped Lumion's body, forming a vibrant red cloak that covered him from head to toe. With a sickening sound, Lumion's body was pierced by grotesque wounds, as if struck by invisible arrows. It was only thanks to the protection of the flesh and blood cloak, transformed from Mr. K's finger, that he managed to survive. Otherwise, he would have been forced to animate his shadow to absorb those fatal injuries on his behalf. Of course, he still had one more mirror substitution up his sleeve, courtesy of Jenna. Overseer Pearl stood firm beside the jutting rock deep within the quarry cave. She flashed Lumion a smile and said, "Those who defy supervision and try to flee shall face punishment." As Franca and Lumion's attempts failed in quick succession, Jenna tossed out a handful of fluorescent dust, whispered an incantation, and promptly vanished from the Punisher dressed as a clergyman of the Eternal Blazing Sun Church. A golden light surged around the Punisher, clad in a white robe adorned with golden threads spreading outward in layers. As the golden light reached an empty space, it abruptly encountered an obstacle, staining it a faint golden hue. Jenna felt a surge of warmth and courage, but her eyes reflected a pure and magnificent blazing pillar of light. Cracked! The pillar of light struck her, transforming her into a mirror and shattering her into pieces. Anthony seized the chance to activate psychological invisibility once more. However, the Trier police incarnation didn't overlook him, as if it could detect the scent of sin on him. 2 bolts of lightning shot forth from the Punisher's eyes, piercing Anthony's soul. Anthony's eyes bulged, his mouth agape, but he couldn't even muster a scream. He stood paralyzed, rooted to the spot. Death, Trier's police incarnation, uttered a single ancient Hermes word. Clenching his right hand into a fist, he lunged at Anthony, leaving an afterimage in his wake. Bang! Imbued with a peculiar force, the fist collided with Anthony's head in an inescapable blow. Crack! Anthony shattered into countless glimmering mirror fragments. Franca, dressed in an assassin suit, reappeared. Confronted by a demigod's overwhelming power, the ethereal, non-godhood-possessing demoness of Black, and the sealed special mirror world, she decisively retrieved an item from her traveler's bag. It was a silver-white full-body armor, taller than Franca herself. Pride armor. Franca positioned the Pride armor in front of her, its back facing Overseer Pearl. She was convinced that the demigod was the crux of the problem, not the Punisher taking the form of the demoness of Black. If Pearl remained unscathed, another Punisher would emerge to eliminate even after dispatching the first. She might even face a direct accusation. Franca noticed Pearl standing beside a protruding rock with a fixed entrance to the mirror world. It led her to believe that Pearl could harness the 4th Epoch Trier's abundant corruption to request a fixed entrance to the mirror world created by the primordial demoness. Not only would it allow them to enter and exit the conventional mirror world without relying on their inherent characteristics and abilities, but it would also serve as the gateway to this special mirror world. After all, it could be considered a gift from a true god. The instant the Pride Armor's feet touched the ground, it suddenly spun around, fixing an invisible gaze upon Overseer Pearl. Franca swiftly leaped to the side and rolled, avoiding facing the Pride Armor's back. Thud thud thud. The silver-white full-body armor charged towards Overseer Pearl, condensing a broadsword of light in its hand. In the dark cathedral bereft of a deity's sacred emblem, a pea rapidly grew, transforming into a multitude of thick turquoise vines that converted the area into a lush paradise of plants and an otherworldly forest. They separated the suspended corpses, preventing them from approaching the hermit. Judgment, who had remained silent, extended her right palm, her eyes glowing with a copper-gold luster. She spoke gravely in ancient Hermes, "Marionettes are prohibited here." The animated corpses abruptly ceased their movements, and Magician tore open the void before her, tainting it with resplendent starlight, forming an enchanting door. Beyond the door was the portrait of a woman, Loki, who had undergone a bizarre transformation. Loki reached into the air and pulled out a figure. The figure was a woman with a voluptuous build, dressed in a black gown. A golden crown encrusted with jewels adorned her head. She had curly chestnut hair, blue eyes, a high nose bridge, and slightly thin lips. She exuded a demoness-like allure from the inside out.